All right, today's topic is how to figure out which university is best for you to attend. Typically, no one applies to just one university. You would apply to multiple universities, and generally, you would get admission at multiple universities as well. So, how do you evaluate which university is best for you or is offering you the best deal? Because that's what you want, right? You want the biggest bang for your buck. And in this video, I'm going to show you a systematic and a quantitative method just to do that. This is the method that I used to evaluate my offers, and it worked wonders for me. And I hope that you feel the same way. So let's jump right into it. Alright, so I'm gonna go to this spreadsheet here, and let me explain this a little bit so you can follow along. Uh, in this spreadsheet, I have listed a couple of universities as an example. Let's assume that I was offered admission at all of these universities. And then in the first row here, I have listed a couple of factors that are important for me to consider when making my decision on which university to attend. And then on the second row, I have the importance that each of these factors have for me. And these may be different for you. So, for example, the first factor I have is the reputation or the ranking of the university among the other universities in the US. The second factor I have is tuition assistance being offered or not. Uh, so some people like to consolidate tuition and assistantships into one factor, but I kept them separate because the offers you receive can be quite different, and some of them will include teaching assistant, research assistant position, and tuition assistance as well. Some of them will only include tuition assistance, not an assistantships. Some of them will include both. So it's easiest for me to keep them separate so I can evaluate them better that way. So tuition assistance being offered and teaching assistant, research assistant position being offered. So these two, being from Southeast Asia, financial assistance was the most critical thing for me, uh, and will probably be the same for a lot of you out there. So I gave them an importance of 10. Keep in mind, all of these factors have been ranked, or the importance has been ranked on a scale of 0 to 10. So 10 means that it's most important, and 0 means that it's not important at all. Uh, so reputation ranking is somewhat important to me. Uh, I gave it a rating of 4 because when I was working in the industry, well, I personally did not attend one of the Ivy League universities here in the U.S., the top 10 universities or whatever. But in my experience within the industry, I worked with several people who had attended these Ivy League schools, and they were working in the same position as I was, and they were working in the same capacity as I was. So I didn't really see that they got any special benefit from attending these Ivy League schools. So that's why, in my opinion, the ranking and the reputation matters somewhat, but I would not stress over it because the general standard of education at U.S. universities is pretty, uh, flat across the board. So you don't really see a whole lot of variability. In my opinion, I've seen that most of the U.S. universities are the same. They offer you the same education. It's more up to you what you are able to learn and how you apply your learning, and then how you sell your skills and your education to the company you're working for, or aspire to work for. Uh, all right, so we talked about tuition assistance, teaching research assistantships being offered. So both of these are related to financial assistance or financial aid. The fourth factor here that I've listed is cost of living in the area. So, for example, if a school is in California or New York City, Seattle, places like that, the cost of living there is going to be significantly higher than many other places in the U.S. And that that can impact you quite substantially. Because if you're working as a teaching assistant, a research assistant, you get a fixed stipend every month, regardless of the location you are at. There might be minor adjustments for cost of living, but mostly the stipends are the same across all the US universities. At least that's what I've seen and heard. Cost of living can be an important factor. It was for me, so I've included it here, and I gave it an importance of 8 because, as I said, it can, be pretty substantial. It can affect your way of living quite dramatically. All right, next one is proximity to friends and family. So if you're coming to the US for the first time, and especially if you've never lived away from your family before, this is going to be pretty critical for you to have family and friends around. Um, when I first came here, I had, you know, homesickness for a while. I missed my family quite a bit. Fortunately, I had a few friends around who I was able to visit, and it worked out fine for me. But most people who come to the US for the first time experience homesickness, so having friends and family close by is definitely a big plus. So keep that in mind. I've listed that here, and I put that as an importance of 6. So it's kind of middle of the range there. And then each university, you have to fill out this row. So you would give a rating for each of these factors for every university, and then you would get an overall score. So, for example, for the first factor, reputation ranking, you have 4 ratings that you can choose from. If the university is ranked among the top 10 universities in the US, then obviously that's great. You give it a rating of 9. Uh, Stanford would probably fall under that, so you can give it a rating of 9. Uh, if it's ranked among the top 100 universities, it goes down to a 3. If it ranked among the top 200, it goes down to a 1. And if it's ranked after 200 universities, the rank is going to be low. So accordingly, your rating is the lowest as well. Tuition assistance offered. So again, as I mentioned, tuition and assistantships have been segregated here. So tuition refers to your tuition fee, um, which can be quite hefty here in the US for international students. It's typically between 30,000 to 50,000 a year. So any waiver, any discounts, reductions you can get there will be extremely helpful. So if you get financial assistance, there's a huge spectrum on that. Some people would get 100% tuition waiver, so you don't have to pay any tuition at all. Some would get 50% tuition waiver, 25%, and then some would have to pay the whole fee. They would not waive any tuition for you. So again, if you get 100% tuition waiver, you can give it a rating of 9. If you get 25%, a 1, and so on. Assistantship, if you get a teaching or a research assistantship, you can give it a rating of 9, and if you don't get it, you can give it a rating of 0. So you really just have 2 choices there. Either you get it or you don't get it. So you can rate accordingly. Cost of living, again, if the cost of living in the area where the university is the lowest or among the lowest in the US, you would rate it the highest. And similarly, if the cost of living is highest in the area, then you would rate it the lowest. So it's kind of opposite to ranking, right? If the ranking is highest, you rate it the highest, but if the cost of living is highest, you rate it the lowest. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments. And then proximity to friends and family. This is the last one that I have up there. So again, the closer the friends and family are, the better it is for you, and the higher you would rate that. So if you have friends and family within 10 miles of the location of the university, you would rate it as a 9. If you have friends and family within 50 miles, you can it as a 3 if you have friends and family that are beyond 150 miles of the location of the university. That's pretty far, and you won't be able to visit them very often, so you would rate it the lowest. Typically in the US, uh, you would spend 1 minute per mile of travel. So if you have to go 100 miles away, it would probably take you 100 minutes. If you have to go 50 miles away, it would take you 50 minutes. So keep that in mind as an estimate. All right. So those are the 5 factors and how I have defined the ratings for those. And these can be different for you. The factors can be different for you, and the importance can be different for you. Similarly, the ratings can be different for you as well. So you can change these according to what makes sense for you. But this is what I used. Uh, and then so let's go through these universities one by one. We'll fill out these rows, and then we'll see what the overall score comes out to be. Um, so for figuring out the ranking or the reputation of the university, if I go to Google, I will search for ranking of US universities. Alright, so US. Okay, this one here is US News and World Report rankings. Uh, this is a pretty credible list of rankings that is issued every year, and I've seen a lot of people rely on this, so we're going to use this one for this example. So click on this, and this will give you the rankings of all the US universities, the most latest rankings. And then we can search for any school here, and it would give you the ranking of that school. And it has a lot of other useful information as well. You can scroll through and see if you find anything else that is useful for you, or you want to utilize that information. So right away I can see that Stanford is ranked number 6, and you can click on the university name and it would give you some further details about the school. So one thing to keep in mind is that Stanford is a private university, and as a private university the tuition fee is probably going to be higher. Well, it's definitely going to be higher than public universities. So if you want to know if a university is public or private, you can always come to this website, search for it, and you will see right here if it's private or public. So it's telling you that tuition fee $56,000 annually. So number 6 is that it's the top universities in the US. So we would rate it as the highest. If you scroll down here, you can see a lot of useful information. Like this is the part that I like to look at. The acceptance rate is pretty low. This is their application deadline. So this is for undergrad programs. But you get the idea. You can scroll through and see all kinds of information here. Alright, so going back to our spreadsheet. So number 6 means that it's ranked among the top 10 universities. That's why we gave it a 9. Tuition assistants and teaching assistants. So let's say they did not give me any tuition assistance, which would be a 0 here. So you can put a 0. And then let's say they offered me a research assistantship. So that becomes a 9 here. Alright, so if you just look at your ratings here. Cost of living. So cost of living, again there are several different tools available for that. I'll show you the one I like to use. If you just Google cost of living comparison, and then come down to this one, the one from CNN.com. So this one is pretty accurate, and I've used it a lot. I've seen many recruiters use it. So you can use this tool as well if you like it. So here you select your current location and then the location that you want to live in, and then it will give you a comparison of the different uh, items, the groceries, housing, utilities, etc. Uh, so we'll select an area that has a low cost of living just as a baseline so we can compare against that. So Georgia Albany is a pretty low cost of living area, so keep this as it is, and then here you can select where you want to live. So Stanford is in California, so you would select California here, and then Stanford would fall under San Francisco. It's in the San Francisco area. So here you can see that uh, if you're making 50K right now in Albany, Georgia, you would need to make 109,000 in San Francisco, California to have the same standard of living. So here you see a breakdown that's telling you housing is 513% more in San Francisco, California compared to Albany, Georgia. Your groceries are 18% higher, utilities are 43%. So utilities are your electricity, water, gas, etc. Transportation, healthcare, so everything is more expensive in San Francisco, California, and it's one of the highest or the most expensive areas in the US. So from a cost of living perspective, we're gonna rate it as very high. Uh, so we would fall under 0 here. Cost of living is the highest. And you can use a different tool if you want. I've had good experience with this CNN one, and I've used it over the years, and it's pretty accurate. So I generally just go to that one directly. And proximity to friends and family. Let's assume you don't have any friends and family. You have friends and family. Uh, let's go with let's say they are 100 miles away from San Francisco, California. So it's more than 50, less than 150. So it would be a 1. So you can put a 1 here, and then you would see that your overall score comes out to be 132. So what this is doing is, you can look at the formula here. So it's just multiplying these. So it's multiplying 9 with 4 plus 0 with 10 plus 9 with 10 plus 0 with 8 plus 1 with 6, and it's giving you that value here. So that's your overall score for Stanford. So let's go to University of Delaware. So if I want to now search for University of Delaware in the rankings, I can go back here and then scroll to the top. Right here in the school name, you can search for University of Delaware, hit enter, and here it is. University of Delaware is ranked as number 93. So number 93 must seem high to you, but trust me, University of Delaware is a really good school. I've worked with people who went to this school, and they have been successful in their careers, like anybody else from any other university. So this ranking, in my opinion, is misleading. It's a very good school, not too far from Stanford, uh, in my opinion, but some others might differ. Anyway, so it's 93. So let's go back to our spreadsheet here. So 93 gives it a rank of 3 here on this factor. And then tuition assistance. Let's say tuition assistance is not offered. I got a teaching assistantship here, so I put a 9 here. Cost of living, again, so keep your current location the same, so you're using the same baseline. And then here, select DE for Delaware, and then Dover. University of Delaware is close to Dover. Dover is the capital of Delaware. You can see that it's pretty similar. The cost of living in Delaware is pretty similar to our baseline. There's a slight difference, nothing major. The housing is the biggest factor, but overall, you need to make 60,000 in Delaware to have the same standard of living as you would have with 50,000 in Albany, Georgia. So cost of living, in my opinion, is on the lower side. Again, if we go to our spreadsheet and go to our ratings for cost of living, so I wouldn't say it's the lowest because Albany, Georgia was the lowest. I would put it as a 3, uh, just because it's a little bit higher than Albany, so I would say this is a 3 here. And then proximity to friends and family. Let's say you have friends and family 150 miles away. Kind of similar to Stanford. Let's give it a 1. So you get a similar overall score. So you can see that University of Delaware was significantly lower in reputation, but since cost of living is better, so you still get the overall same score. So there's a tie here. Now if you go to University of Alabama, I kind of follow the same process. University of Alabama again is a pretty good school. I know a person who worked at a company where I used to work, and he was an engineering manager there, very successful in his career, got his undergrad and master's from University of Alabama. Uh, so again, a good school, in my opinion. But let's see what ranking we get here. So University of Alabama. Alright, so you can see it was given a rank of 148, which again, might surprise you, but this is what it is. If you click on this, you can see that this is a public institution, so the tuition and fees is going to be lesser. You can see it's 31,000. So one thing to note is that they have an in-state tuition and an out-of-state tuition. So as an international student, you would always pay the out-of-state tuition. But it's a public school and the tuition is much less. In Stanford, I believe it was about 50,000. And then it's located in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And if you need more information, you can scroll down. Alright. So here's some good information for you. So this chart here is telling you the fees, the cost of room and board. And then here it's telling you what percentage of the students applied for financial aid here. About 50% and like 21% got full financial aid. 41% got need-based financial aid. 31.8 got self-help aid. 57% got their full need met. So you can dig deeper into this if you want, but from my perspective right now, I'm just interested in the rank, which is 148. So if you go to our spreadsheet, 148 was gonna give it a 1. Alright, so it's ranked above 100 but under 200, so we give it a 1 here. Tuition assistance, let's say they offer me tuition assistance. Let's say they give me a 50% waiver, so that gives me a rating of 3 here. Let's say they give me an assistantship as well. Cost of living, again we can do this quickly. Alabama, and Tuscaloosa is not listed here. I believe it's very close to uh, Mobile. Let's do this. We can sometimes you won't find the city in this tool, so you can go back and try this one. This one is pretty good as well. It's from Bankrate. So if you go to this one, okay. So the good thing about this one is that you can plug in the city name and it will. Well, Tuscaloosa is not included here as well. So okay. So the other methodology that I use sometimes if I run into this situation is I just search for the closest cities uh, near that city. So for Alabama, I'm gonna search cities near the city. Alright, so let's say cities near Alabama. Alright, so if I go to travel math here, the city center of each of these is 3 miles of Tuscaloosa. You can see these cities are pretty close. So Birmingham is one of them. The cost of living in Birmingham is going to be pretty close to Tuscaloosa. And Birmingham, I believe, was in the list. So again, I go to Alabama, which is AL. Then I'm going to do Birmingham here. Alright, so you can see pretty much the same cost of living. So as a result, I'm gonna give it the lowest. Cost of living is the lowest, so I'm gonna rate it as a 9. Proximity to friends and family, I might say that okay, I don't have any friends and family in the area. The friends and family are beyond 150 miles, so I will give it a 0 here. But still, you can see that your score came out to be higher. What's the difference? The university is ranked significantly lower than Stanford, but since you got tuition assistance here, and that is significantly important for you, so as a result, your overall score was much higher than Stanford. Uh, Hope that makes sense. Same thing for University of Kentucky. Let's do this quickly. University of Kentucky. Let's see. Alright, this is again a good school. I know several people who graduated from here. So this is in Lexington, Kentucky. Again, it's ranked over 100, but it's a pretty good school. If you get an engineering degree from here, believe me, you'll have no problem making a career for yourself as an engineer. But 127, is gonna put it again at number 1. So it's gonna be 1. Tuition assistance. Let's say I didn't get any tuition assistance here. Or let's say I got 25% tuition waived. So I got 1 here. And I got a teaching assistant position here. Cost of living, again, you can compare. So it's Kentucky, you go to Kentucky here, and Lexington. So again, pretty similar, no significant differences. So if you go to cost of living, one thing you might want to try is change this value a little bit and see if that changes the difference as well. Sometimes just increasing this number here might significantly increase the cost of living in your destination. But here you can see it's It's pretty close. I mean, 5,000 annually is not a major difference. So you go back to your spreadsheet. Uh, then cost wise, it's a little bit more than the lowest, so I'll give it a 3. So let's do a 3 here. Uh, and then let's say I have some friends and family, at 125 miles. So you can put it as a 1, and then you can see your score. So again, University of Kentucky was ranked significantly lower. You got some tuition assistance, only 25%. You got a teaching assistantship. Cost of living again is low compared to Stanford. Friends and family are similarly located, but your overall score came out to be higher. So this is a quantitative methodology you can use to evaluate the different factors that are important to you and figure out which university is giving you the best deal. So if I were you in this situation, I would go with University of Alabama. So this methodology is what I used, and I've shown it to many other students, and they have loved it. They used it in their evaluations and their decision making, and I've only got positive feedback on this. Hopefully you liked it, and leave some comments at the bottom and let me know what you think about it, if you'll use it or not. That's it for today. Until next time, adios.